Single dad janitor yelled, "Don't get in the car," seconds later. The CO realized why the warning tore through the cold morning air. Like a siren that arrived one breath too early. A desperate cry from a man no one ever noticed. A single father in a faded janitor's jacket, whose voice cracked with fear as he ran across the parking lot, knowing in his bones that something terrible was about to happen, and that if he failed to stop it, lives would be changed forever. The world seemed to slow in that moment. Rain hovering mid-fall, the hum of engines stretching into a low, distant growl as the black executive car waited with its door open, and destiny balanced on a single step if you believe in kindness. Second chances and the quiet heroes we overlook every day. Take a moment right now to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel Gentle Hearts, because stories like this survive only when good people choose to carry them forward. The janitor had arrived before dawn as he always did, pushing his cart through marble hallways that reflected a life he would never live, polishing floors that carried the footsteps of power, while his own shoes whispered apologies to the ground. He was a single dad, raising a small child on a paycheck that barely held together by faith and routine. A man who learned to stretch hope the way others stretched money. Each morning he left his daughter asleep, under a blanket that smelled like detergent and safety, kissed her forehead and promised himself he would come home smiling. No matter how heavy the day felt, the building where he worked was a glass monument to success. And he was invisible within it, the man who erased fingerprints and gathered trash, who listened more than he spoke, and noticed things others missed, 'cause his survival depended on awareness. The CEO arrived late that morning, distracted by numbers and deadlines, his mind crowded with decisions that affected thousands, but left him numb to the ground beneath his feet. His life moved fast, insulated by schedules and assistants, by the belief that control was a permanent state, rather than a temporary illusion. He did not see the janitor until the warning shattered the quiet. And even then his first instinct was irritation, the reflex of someone used to authority, being questioned by a man in work boots and tired eyes. He paused, hand on the door, confused by the urgency he could not yet understand, annoyed by the attention drawn to him. In a place where he expected silence, what neither man knew was that the janitor's morning had already been shaped by loss. An instinct years earlier, he had survived a crash that took his wife, and left him with a scar that still ached when storms approached. He had learned the language of danger in subtle signs, in vibrations that felt wrong in the way metal spoke when it was about to fail. As he cleaned the garage earlier that morning, he noticed something out of place beneath the executive car. A dark stain where there should have been clean concrete, a faint chemical smell that stirred an old, cold memory. He told himself not to overthink it, because overthinking was a luxury he could not afford. But the feeling followed him, a tightening in his chest that grew with every passing minute. When he saw the CEO step toward the car, the janitor's fear surged into certainty. His body moved before his mind could argue, propelled by a father's instinct to protect, by a survivor's knowledge that danger rarely announces itself politely. He ran, ignoring the stares, ignoring the unspoken rule that men like him did not interrupt. Men like that, his shout carried years of swallowed words, of warnings never given 'cause no one asked. And when it echoed across the lot, it felt like tearing a seam in the world. The CEO hesitated, caught between annoyance and something else he could not name. In that pause, time snapped back into place. The engine turned. A sharp metallic scream followed by a violent jolt as the car lurched, then a sudden explosion of sound and motion that threw the world sideways. The vehicle shuddered and collapsed in on itself, smoke billowing as alarms screamed, and in that chaos the truth revealed itself with brutal clarity. A mechanical failure triggered by a hidden leak ignited under pressure, turning routine into catastrophe. The car, moments ago a symbol of power, became a twisted shell, and the CEO realized with a sickening rush that the janitor's warning had not been an intrusion, but a lifeline. Emergency lights painted the rain in red and blue. As people rushed in, voices overlapping in shock and disbelief, the janitor stood trembling, his hands shaking not from fear now but from the release of it, from the knowledge that he had been seconds away from watching another family shatter. The way his once had, he thought of his daughter, of the promise he made every morning. And the weight of that promise pressed tears into his eyes. He had done what he could, and for the first time in a long while, it felt like it mattered. The CEO watched from a distance, soaked in silence as reality settled into his bones. He saw the janitor not as a uniform but as a man, as someone who had carried invisible burdens and still chosen to act. In the days that followed, the story spread through the building, reshaping conversations and softening edges. Investigations confirmed the danger had been real, the timing impossibly close, and gratitude replaced shock with a humbling force. The CEO could not shake the image of that run, that voice, the way his own life had been held by a stranger's courage. Change did not arrive all at once, but it began. The janitor was called in. Support came not as charity, but as recognition, as doors opening that had always been closed. Training opportunities, safer working conditions, a schedule that allowed him to be present for his child. Each step a quiet correction to a world that had long overlooked him. The CEO, confronted with the randomness of survival, reevaluated the culture he led, pushing for systems that valued people beyond their titles, knowing now how easily value could be missed, until it was almost too late. For the janitor, the greatest change was internal. He began to stand a little straighter, to believe that his voice deserved space, that his experiences were not just scars but tools. He shared his story with his daughter one evening, not as a tale of fear but of responsibility, of listening to the quiet signals that ask us to care. She looked at him with wide eyes, seeing her father not just as a provider, but as a protector in a broader sense, and that look healed something in him he had not known was broken. Time passed and the parking lot returned to routine. But the air felt different, charged with the memory of what almost happened and what did not. The CEO never again ignored a warning, no matter its source. And the janitor never again doubted the worth of its instincts. Their lives continued on separate paths. Yet they were bound by a moment when hierarchy dissolved and humanity spoke louder than status as this story reaches its final breath. If it touched your heart, if it reminded you that courage often wears ordinary clothes, and that one voice can change everything, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Gentle Hearts so more stories of quiet bravery can be told before you go. Leave a comment telling us what you would have done in that moment, or share a time when someone unexpected changed your life with a single act, because your words might be the shock of kindness someone else needs today.